CMPRadio.net. It's the station. CMPRadio.net, the voice of Chester.
CMPRadio.net. You already know it's your boy Uncle P, man, and I am live from the Cultivating Mature Positivity Studio. That's right, 114 West 5th Street, right over town, man. Come through, come check us out, come ask some questions. And if you want to interview somebody, if there's somebody you want to talk to, you want to figure out how they did it, why they did it, or why they're doing it, come to the radio station, CMPRadio.net. But right now, we have a very special guest. Listen, she used to be a cop. Right, one of the toughest cops on the street, Miss Marilyn Lee. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh man, no problem at all. Listen, man, you are now running, not for the first time, not for the second time.
Yes.
It's the third time. Magisterial District Judge.
Yes.
And your campaign is a little different than others. People got to write you in.
Yes.
So let's talk about how we got to that point of being a write-in candidate, because it's different than your name being on the ballot. People just going in and filling out. They have to take the time to write Marilyn, right?
Yes.
L-Y-N.
Yes.
Lee, L-E-E. They have to
have
write.
Have to have it.
And they got to spell your name right?
That's correct.
So
If they have to evaluate it, they'll go on the intent of the writer.
wow. So let's talk about that, right? Why, after the third time, the first time, the second time, the third time, now you are a write-in candidate? Why?
I'm a write-in now because some of the signatures on my petition were challenged by other candidates, albeit that is the system of how it's done. Once you submit your petition, every candidate gets the opportunity to inspect and see if every signature is correct, valid, and a registered voter in the community to which they signed for. I had several of my signatures that helped me to file under 100, because you need 100 mandatory to go on to the ballot. But some hadn't voted in 8 years, the last two elections. If you haven't voted in the last two elections, you are now a new person that has to re-register to vote.
Say that again.
If you have not voted in the last two elections, which is 8 years.
8 years.
8 years. You have to re-register to vote. The next group of people were persons who have moved into the new district but did not change their voter registration to match their current address. That's another group. Change your address as you move. If you move and change your address for your cable and your driver's license, PennDOT does it
Right.
for you. They allow you to change your voter registration at the same time.
At the same time, right?
At the same time.
Right.
And then my third group of people were the elderly. Some have forgotten that they're Republican or Democrat.
Wow.
And their names were stricken.
Wow.
So that's how I came to running as a write-in candidate.
You don't seem upset about that, right? Because we were talking earlier. You said if you only know one way, it's the only way you know. So you figured out another way.
That's correct. And like you said, this is my third time doing this, but the first time not being on the ballot as you will see it come through. And during these times, these are different things that have been taught to me. They still do writing campaigns in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
If there is someone or a seat that's still open and available, what you must do is you must register or nominate yourself with the county and or the state to which you're running with or for. And you have to not only list yourself as a bipartisan or cross-filed candidate, but you also have to give different variations of how you spell your name. So if my name is spelled Marilyn and someone writes Merlin, do they mean me or do they mean someone else?
Right.
So you have to give different misspellings of what could be your name.
Wow.
So that's why all of my literature has my name. Folks have asked me, why don't you have anything with your face on it? You already know what I look like.
Right. You should.
I need you to know how
To
to
spell
my
my
name.
name,
But
right.
then you have Marcus and Trainer that aren't very familiar with me at all.
Right.
So I'm trying to familiarize myself with them as well.
Running 3 times for the magisterial district judge seat, even though it's a different court this time. Why are you running?
I know I'm meant to do that.
Right.
And it's a natural progression. I've wanted to do this from the first time I saw Judge Davis, that senior Judge Davis do
Senior
it.
Judge Davis, right, absolutely.
And we were in the old courthouse that's right here on 5th Street. And the first time seeing that, I started my inquiry for it in 2010.
Okay.
I started working towards that 2011, 2012 for the 2013 election. So this is an ambition of mine. I just want to do it.
You just want to do
I
it.
know I'm good at it. I'm great at conflict resolution. I'm good at resource information. I'm great with people. I'm very stern when I have to be. But as you and I were just talking about, I know when grace is necessary.
Mm-hmm. Grace is important, right? Because you were once a cop.
Oh yeah.
So while you'll be on the bench, you'll be on the other side, right?
Yes.
You see any problem with that?
Knowing how to read the paperwork is going to be the greatest plus.
Okay.
Having a familiarity of all the judges that are in our duty group, because each area has a certain duty group of judges that are combined. They're the ones that will fill in on the weekends when you're on call.
Mm-hmm.
And having that familiarity, it's not an introduction. It's just coming from a different point of view now. You're looking at it from a different perspective, as opposed to enforcement. You're now on the judicial side.
Right.
So you just are you're an unbiased, and you have to be unbiased in looking at the facts being presented.
Do you think that it'd be a little difficult knowing that, like I said, you were once a cop, right? You don't see any. No.
Supervision is the same way.
Okay.
Supervision is the same way. So from sergeant to major, and then you have to look at it from each level. As a sergeant, you're at the 50,000-foot level from your men and women with their boots on the ground. And as you go up the scale of supervision, you're in command, your duties change as well.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know from supervision, command to executive, because that's what a judge is. They're the executive officer
Right.
of that court. And they are now not just overseeing the courts and seeing the cases, they also have to run the office. They have to be in there making sure that the clerks and all those that are there are doing their jobs as well. So that's where it's different. Before it's in the enforcement, now we're in the judicial portion where it's paperwork more and business based.
So I was going to ask you to talk about your management style.
Yeah.
Right. What if you had to describe yourself as a manager in the executive branch, like what kind of manager would you be?
I'm definitely not a micromanagement. And I'm coming into an office where ladies and gentlemen have been doing this for years.
Years. Absolutely.
They're actually going to be training me
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
Now, you do go through a 4-week boot camp. Now, I've gone twice, but if you're not appointed or elected, you have to go back after it expires after 2 years.
Right.
So, and it's not mandatory that you have it prior to an election. It's just that this is something that you will experience.
Right.
So knowing that, you have to give the experts their time to do what they're doing, because they're going to actually let you know exactly okay, this is what I need you to make the decisions on. And
Right.
you know which things that you are automatically have to jump in on as well.
Okay. I was going to ask you, do you have any personal or professional relationships that could become a conflict while serving on the bench?
You know that's going to happen.
Right.
You're going to have persons that you're close with,
Right.
or persons that you have come in contact with during my career that it would be best to recuse yourself from.
Right.
And that's going to be automatically. What I do have is an uncanny memory. Faces and names.
Right.
Okay, this one's not a good one for me. I'm going to have to recuse myself.
Yeah. No.
And that's so that they can know that they are getting the best service handed to them without them thinking, oh, she just doesn't like me.
Right.
Or, oh, I know she likes me.
Right.
No, we don't want any of that to happen.
I know how that feels. I went out media and I went in front of my cousin and one of the Wrights, Judge Wright, and he was like, "No, I can't see your case. I can't hear your case. You know what I mean? I have to recuse myself." And I was like, "Wow, man, that's awesome, man. I never knew you could do that."
Yes, because you don't want inappropriate behavior.
No, you don't.
Is watched closely.
Right. It is. Right.
Watched closely.
Right.
And Chester has an advantage that trainer Marcus Hook doesn't have. They don't know me as well. So now it's for me to show them who I am, both professionally and personally, and service them the same way I would do Chester.
What skills and experience do you have that you believe would be beneficial to you as a judge?
Law enforcement is one. So the language is not new. The language is not unfamiliar. I'm also a member of the Del Valley hostage negotiation team. So active listening is very important. That is for details and information, because you have to pay attention. It's not just sitting. It's not about just wearing a black robe. I'm also a woman of faith. Grace, we've already talked about.
Yes,
Some
yeah.
things the discretion can be given. There are some things that the law overrules.
Yes.
So, and having been an executive officer with the Chester Police Department helps as well, because you know the confidentiality of everything. You know the importance of people's lives, livelihood, their quality of life in their communities. This is everything that goes into being that officer of the court.
Absolutely. Do me a favor, pull the microphone a little bit closer to you.
Sure.
Right. Yep, you got it?
Yeah. That good?
Yeah, that's good. That's
All right.
good. As a judge, different people can say, this judge did this judge did that. What do you believe is the role of a magisterial district judge?
It's more than just being fair and impartial. You have to show your humanity. You have to be a person. But you just have to be the right person to be able to say, okay, this decision has to be made today. Or I need to do more research. This decision doesn't have to be made today. I have 5 days to decide, and you'll have your answer at that point in time. Everybody's not going to always like the answers given. But you have to take your time, absorb all the information, do the research, and use all the resources that you have to give the community the best that they need. Because right now it's about unity. Judge Seaton left a great legacy.
Yes, he did.
So now I have to jump in and attempt to continue that. Because that's what we want. We want a continued, good-natured, community-loving officer. Because the judge is a court officer.
Right.
Who is a great add to the communities. All three communities want that. I want the same in Trainer and Marcus Hook, I want them to see me off duty and say, hey, Miss Marilyn, or hi, Marilyn, how you doing? How's your family? This and that and the third.
Right.
That's going to take time. And hi, Judge, how are you when we're in court? So I think that is key.
What are the most pressing issues that you feel are in the office, right? What do you feel as though you have to study on, like landlord tenant, those types of cases?
Persons getting their cases heard.
Right.
That's the biggest dilemma right now.
Right.
Okay? Because what brought us to this point right now where we have Marcus Hook and Trainer was that there were courts that were overrun with cases and or underwhelmed with cases. And no one wants their case to continue to be, or to be continued over and over and over. They want a resolution, a solution.
Absolutely.
I want to be able to bring a swiftness in executing cases with clarity and a surety. So you know that it's going to be heard quickly and it's going to be resolved quickly. There are some things that'll go to court of common pleas, it won't be resolved at this level. So I think the backlog is what's hurting us most.
Right.
Backlog is what's hurting us most. Because this new change we have started way back in 2021. Judge Seaton's court was one that they thought to diminish. So just think about how Linwood's court and or Court 21 would also have been overwhelmed.
Right.
They did that.
Right.
So to split it up the way they have, it has equaled the playing field. About 39, almost 40,000 cases per court now. Where it was, some were very unbalanced.
Right.
So efficiency and expedition is what means a lot to me.
Awesome. What distinguishes you from other candidates, other than the fact that you've ran 3 times?
Well, I'm not the only politician here.
Okay.
Because, you know.
Yeah, Shep, right.
Yeah, Shep was a councilman
yes,
here
he
in our
was.
town.
Yes, he was.
And what separates me is having a working history with every judge in our duty group. Having to know our communities, having to know the sheriffs, having to know, because I'm just as much a frequent visitor of Marcus Hook as I am of Chester.
Right.
I frequent all of their businesses,
Right.
as well as having at a short time worked at their refinery. And my ex and family have worked at the refinery too. So these communities have afforded my children a way to go to school.
Right.
To us to be able to live and sustain ourselves.
Absolutely.
But the executive training, I believe, is the one thing that I have over all of them. And the command and the executive training. That's the only thing I haven't heard them say that they have had. And those are important skills. Again, like I said, this is an execution of office. You are the executive member. And how are you going to interact? Senior judges, lowercase judges, because we are the lowest at this level. We may be the first introduction that a person might have, but we are at the base level, and we need to be able to communicate, get along with each other, and we do, and they do. I have never heard of any judges that don't exist well with one another, because everything is intertwined. We're one fabric, and we want to maintain that.
What do you think about the youth in this community, right? Do you think it should be like a youth court? There should be things where the youth are talking about, you know, the things that they're dealing with in school or different things like that. Like, what is your main focus on the youth and affecting the youth in this neighborhood?
Youth court is not new.
Right.
I was a school resource officer.
Yes, you were.
And we had youth court.
Right.
Our juvenile department assisted. There was at one time, while being a school resource officer, Judge Davis allowed community service as opposed to fines and costs for my students.
Right.
And they were able to work off their hours at the Boys and Girls Club, in the cafeteria during school, as opposed to coming out on the weekends. Some households have more than one child, and they may have more than 5 children.
Right.
And that older child is there to help sustain and maintain the household. So to utilize that and have them be accountable, that peer thing is something strong.
It is. It is.
That peer thing is something strong when you're judged by your own peers, and they make you want to do better, because now they're losing out on privileges, they're losing out on good times, or people wanting to come and support us. So we have some of the most creative youth. We were just this weekend and just again offering condolences to Mr. Willie Moore, Warren Moore's father. We were there speaking about how Mr. Willie and Mr. Benny and all of them took their time out every year to take us young children and show us that we have more talents than just sitting on the porch.
Right.
If there weren't for a lot of, let's say, the Jamie Whartons, the A.J. Tompkins, the Brian Pollocks, there would be no Carl Lewis.
Right.
There would be no Carl Lewis, Carol Lewis, or any of the others, because with us battling them in sports, we made them greater.
Right.
So we have untapped energy and untapped strength in our youth that we just haven't given them the opportunity to show who they are.
No. Hopefully everything works out. You're in the bench. You're sitting at the bench. What's one thing you think that you can bring to the bench to serve the people of Chester and Marcus Hogan Trainer?
I am closer to the ground than anyone that I've heard. I've been through a great majority of a lot of the things that our citizens have been through. Teenage pregnancy, children in situations, welfare system, not making enough money to pay your bills and being behind on them, not being able to communicate exactly how you're feeling, incorrect or not enough education, not enough business sense to get through, how to balance your books. I think I have that grace to see that everyone is met where they are. And we're at a lot of different places. Our elderly are being abused by the scams and family members. There are people who don't know what the difference between a living will and a living trust. There are people, and I just want to offer the information that I do have. Some folks don't know that a domestic abuse warrant is for a sibling. Folks don't know that you can get that again. It's not just a person that you are intimately involved with.
Right.
So there's a Rolodex of information that I have to offer, and it just needs to be tapped into.
Right.
So they say 10,000 hours says that you're an expert in anything. I have 150,000 hours of law enforcement to offer.
That's a lot of hours.
So I want to give you my expertise, but I also want to give you my humanity, my grace, and I also want you to give me the same thing.
Right. Can't give it if you ain't got it. Can't get it if you don't receive it. You know how I feel. I feel like the people that should serve this community should serve this community, right? I don't think that people should do a job because they want to get paid or they're looking to make money. Not a job that is a public servant, right? You should care about your community and help your community grow, right? I want to say over the last 60 years, we haven't really seen a lot of growth here in the city of Chester. What is one thing that you would do outside of sitting on the bench, but what is one thing in the community that you want to see happen to give us some growth and to get us moving in the right direction?
I don't want to sound pompous or arrogant, but I'm here all the time. And it doesn't need to be front page news. 'Cause, in the word it says anything that you do for others, it should be quiet. And I already hold business hours that are not officially business hours because people still need information and they're still coming.
Right.
And if I don't have it, I know who to refer you to. The first 5 numbers in your phone should be the people who can answer the questions that you need to be able to refer to someone else. The second 5 should be the people who answer when they don't.
Right.
So I love the welfare to work. I'm more interested in the reentry for our men. Our young ladies seem to be thriving very well. Our young men are getting lost.
Yes, they are.
And that information is being held ransom. It's really been held ransom. There are so many men out here who have a story to tell. You know, Mr. King is helping. There are other people who are helping. We need to get some of these records expunged. We need to be able to get them a second chance to be able to take care of their families. And I don't mean $5, $10, $15 an hour jobs, because you can barely make the rent.
With
Most of these folks,
a $15 job, it's
come on,
hard.
man. I mean, some of these jobs that are offered for our young men, I mean, to feel like a man
Right.
who is providing for their family and who is taking care of, and that helps with their self-esteem.
Self-esteem, absolutely.
That helps with their self-esteem. So if I could say to do anything, I would really, really help with a reentry program.
Okay.
And keep it established.
Right.
And as new people come through, teach them the way to go, because we can't always sit in this seat. As well as, had I known when I came on the force that this type of job was available then, I would have went for it then.
Right.
This information didn't come up until, like I said, I had to see it in action.
Right.
I had never seen anyone that looked like me doing it. I met Judge Seaton my first day on the job. He had just been in office maybe a year and a half. But to watch Judge Seaton, high school diploma, just a graduate, 21 years of age, live in the community to which you're going to serve. That's not a whole lot of criteria.
No, it's not.
But no one has explained that to us. So, the reentry program, and then training the next person to take my seat when my time is done.
When people go in on May 16th, why should they write your name on the ballot?
Consistency, unity, information, experience, love of all these 3 towns, diversity, family, the basic things, humanity. You need a person to sit there with humanity. No big eyes and little U's. Not at all. They have to feel that you have their best interests at heart.
Absolutely.
So if I've served you in this community and I've given you information that has come back to be good information, vote for me. If you've come back 20 times later and the same results, vote for me. If I've given you incorrect information and not attempted to correct it, don't vote for me. If I have not shown you to be the same no matter what, because you know, everybody knows me. Miss Marilyn don't play, but she'll give you she's fair, she'll give you the right information, and I'll give you the clothes off and the shirt off my back if I can, when I can. So those are the things, but I also need to say, with a write-in, you know, my first vote doesn't get counted till after 100.
Wow.
Now, those young ladies and our young gentlemen who won their opportunity with their 100 signatures, that solidified their stay. I have to make up that first 100. That's why on my page I asked for 2,000 to 3,000 votes, because the first 100 just allows me to stay. So when I have given you my literature and it has the examples on the back, they come from the Bureau of Elections.
Yeah.
I need all of that. I need you to follow it to the T. I wouldn't give you anything that was false. And I know you've heard it. don't listen to that. She's not on the ballot. You will not see me on the ballot. You will not see my name. But my name as a write-in candidate will be listed. And when you shade in that area for a write-in, it counts. The machine reads it as a vote. It's a vote. Your vote will be counted. Your voice and your vote will be counted. So, again, I need more than 100. I need 2,000 to 3,000. It's no use in afterwards saying, hey, Miss Marilyn, I voted for you. If I didn't make it to 100.
Right.
Then that means you're not a good person of your word.
Right.
I wouldn't give you any information that is incorrect. Just ask those officers who are now in supervision. I wouldn't give you any information that will prove to be incorrect. The 101s are the basis. So in with this, I'm also training you something different.
Right.
Okay, so that's me. I'm here. I'm doing it behind the scenes still, but now it's time to do it out front.
Right. Absolutely. I want to thank you for taking time out. You know, we ran into each other at the Boys and Girls Club. I was like, "What's up, man? How you feeling? Like, you on the ballot yet? Well, come through. Let's have a conversation. Let's tell the people how to vote for you and why you're running and your principles and your morals and all of those things. Let's talk about that, right? That's what I do for everybody, right?
Appreciate it.
This radio station is a fence, and I'm not trying to pick no one's side.
Right. I've seen that.
I'm not trying to pick nobody's side nowhere. I'm not trying to condemn anyone either. Yes. If there's anyone out here that wants to give somebody, you know, whatever they want to give them, you can come to CMP. You can sit behind this chair and you can have a microphone and talk to the people. How I'm doing what I'm doing is for the kids, so they can understand how to talk and how to interview and how to talk to people that are running for office. So,
can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
Can I please say thank you to the 4 children in the 200 block of Jeffrey Street? I was out putting out my literature, and those 4 children followed me around and gave out my literature for an hour, asking questions. That curiosity will one day be one of those young persons also running for office for our town.
Absolutely. If you don't show them, they don't see it.
They don't know
They can't be it. If they don't see it, got to show them.
Be the change you want everyone to see.
Absolutely. Thank you, Miss Marilyn. I appreciate you stopping through. Man, it's Uncle P, CMPradio.net. Man, a great interview with Miss Marilyn Lee. Again, May 16th, she says, listen, she's not on the ballot, but if you fill in the write-in post and you write her name in, you put your thing in, that's a vote. Needs more than 100, she said. So come out, man. It's 3 great candidates running for the Magisterial District Judge, right? Marilyn Lee is one of them. Shep Gardner was here. And then tomorrow, I will have Desiree Potts. You got to pick between the 3, right? You want to make sure you come out and you vote, you make your voice heard. That's the 11th, the 10th wards, Marcus Hook and Trainer. Yeah. This is court 32-1-22, I think.
22, yes.
Come out and vote. Come out and make sure the person you want to see in the seat wins the seat and is elected, man. It's CMPradio.net. You already know it's the station. I want y'all to have a great day today. Remember, give grace every day, daily, 2 or 3 times a day. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Peace.